here talking about officiating and the lack of officials around the Ontario minor leagues for basketball, hockey, soccer, whatever. And I'm here with these three gentlemen, and can you just state your names?
I am Spencer Jarvis.
My name is Alex Laszlo.
My name's Connor Latchford.
And so, how long have you guys all been reffing?
I'll start us off. So I started off when I was about 14 years old, reffing soccer. Obviously, you know, the offside, the linesman, obviously what they're called in their respective sports. And I reffed that till COVID happened. So that would have been about 3 years or so. And then after COVID has obviously stopped, I started reffing basketball. And I technically could still ref to this day, but I haven't reffed in about 1.5 years. So.
Nice. Yeah, so I started actually when I was 12. I was timekeeping, and that was just kind of like a part-time thing, like on the weekends and stuff, like during elementary school and high school. And then I actually, one of the conveners is one of my parents' friends. So they said, yeah, like get into reffing and get in right away. Just because there's just such a shortage right now, like young kids not wanting to work, right, post-COVID, as Spencer said. Yeah, and I've reffed for the last 5 years, level 2 carded ref. Actually just did a U18 AAA game.
Nice.
Last week. So,
that's sweet.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
I started when I was 18, so I've been 2018, just before COVID, unfortunately. I started just because I was playing midget and wasn't going too good on the junior prospects, so I figured might as well extend the hockey career and get into reffing. And so I ref for a little bit, just until COVID, and then ever since COVID I moved out here, and I haven't really jumped back into reffing since being out in London, but I was back home in Whitby.
Awesome. So what got you guys into reffing? Was it like an older sibling, or like your parents knowing somebody, like money, like what?
Yeah, I think for me it was more so just so like, you know, I play a sport and I can make money by reffing the sport. So that was just like an easy opportunity for me. And I think that when you look at like the reffing organizations around London, if you do play like a competitive sport, I feel like they're more open, or, you know, more willing to like bringing you on, because obviously you have experience to like what goes on in that game, or like the game, basically the sport, right? So you understand more, and you're probably gonna be more confident in the end as well. So I think that's really what got me into it.
Yeah, like Spencer said, I mean, growing up playing your sport, I mean, I feel like it's definitely like an easier transition, right, to playing to reffing. But yeah, like I said, what got me into it was my parents' friends. And yeah, like he just kind of picked me up and told me to get into it, and I did, and it's been great ever since.
Nice. Awesome. My mom actually really encouraged me to get into reffing. Not that she didn't see my career diminishing, she just thought it was a really good opportunity to earn some extra cash on the side as well. But yeah, my mom was a big motivator for that. She just thought that it'd be a really, like you guys always said, a really easy transition into a career possibly in the future. So shout out to mom.
Yeah, how cool is that? Like, there's some people from London that are reffing like the NHL. And
it's unreal.
Even that new league, the PWHL.
Yeah.
The Women's League. Yeah.
That's
Hillary Brennan, I believe, is her name.
Oh.
Yeah,
That's
she's
pretty
one of the card refs. They make some like crazy dough.
Yeah,
they make good money.
Crazy
And
dough.
you get to travel all over the States.
Yeah.
That'd be pretty sweet.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean, what's not to like about being a ref? You know what I mean?
The list can go on.
Yeah. Very true. Yeah, very true. Yeah, so like, do any of you guys like see like your reffing career going further than just like minor hockey? Like maybe trying to make that next step into like semi-pro, like the O, or?
Yeah, I mean the O would be like obviously really cool, and
sweet.
The N would be amazing too. But there's so many like little steps you have to go. I think you have to get up to like level 5.
Yeah, and then gotta do the combine.
The combine, and then you have to get like recruited. Yeah. So it's a long process. But yeah, like if you just stay the course, I'm like, should be all right.
It takes time. Yeah,
it takes
for
definitely
sure.
some time. Oh yeah.
I'd definitely consider it once I'm done school and done really like playing competitively.
Yeah,
I'd definitely want to put more time into it.
Yeah.
Especially doing the combine. I'm a terrible skater and player skates.
Yeah. So like with minor league officiating, do you guys find that there's like a limited number of like minor league refs? Like, do you find yourself being scheduled like quite frequently, and like, do you notice any shortages of
Oh
refs?
yeah, absolutely. Especially like post-COVID, right? Like nobody kind of wants to work these days,
No.
right? So, yeah, definitely there is some shortage.
Yeah, I think a lot of people don't realize like how many like people ref full time though. Actually, like I couldn't count the amount of times like playing hockey or basketball growing up that the same dude refs my
Same dude,
games.
yeah.
Right.
Absolutely.
Like you sort of know guys and stuff like that. I think
With
that
their
just-
first names.
Exactly. Right. Like, and I think it just shows, right? Like there probably is a shortage, and like these dudes are out here, like it's a full time job, right? Like it definitely
Yeah.
is.
Even pre-COVID, I found that, like, especially while playing, not even just doing my own reffing, like, they would try to get me in when I was younger, but I kept saying no, just commitments through other things. But, like, pre-COVID, like, you'd get the same, like, 8 refs on rotation pretty much. New lineies every now and again, but the same refs, and, like, you knew what kind of guy you were getting every time.
Yeah.
And you really, really get to know the people.
Yeah, I was a crash
Sure.
and bang type of guy.
Yeah.
Oh, so I had my fair share of penalties.
friends.
And, oh man, yeah, the same refs every day.
I'm a
Every
goalie,
game
so
was-
we're besties.
Yeah.
I'm always
Oh, yeah.
chatting to him before the game, like during warm-ups. I'm asking him questions, trying to get him to smile, just get a little crack in the armor, and then like whistles, like especially as a goalie, you want them to be your best friends.
Right.
They give you the quick whistles. It's really, really nice.
Yeah.
Like, so making that transition from player to ref, have you guys built any of those kind of bonds with any of the younger kids now that you're reffing, or?
Oh yeah, well it depends on the age, right? Like I feel the younger I do, like the more teaching I can offer, right? Like lining up on face-offs, line changes, and then obviously when it gets a little bit older, like you're just kind of there and making the right calls, and then just trying to like once again teach them and guide them, and not really trying to befriend them, but just like a couple
friendly.
chirps. Yeah, be friendly, like a couple of like, hey, how you doing, or like
Yeah,
get a nice goal
absolutely.
or whatever. Like you obviously don't want to cross the line, but
And that the parents really could come after you.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, like, but to put on what you said too, I feel like I agree with you. The younger they are, the more teaching that you can offer
Yeah,
them,
the more
like
teaching.
direction. But as they get older, I find like the more like conversational
Yeah.
you can get with a player, right? Because they kind of understand it a bit more. It's not a kid that you're going like, you have to tell him why it's a tripping or why it's a shooting foul, right? Like when he gets older, it's like, hey, well, this is what you did, and he may be able to look back and go, hey, you're right, if you actually give him a good explanation,
Yeah, either swear at you or just go to
Yeah.
the box and know that
And
they're
then
doing wrong.
There's that too. Yeah, that's never fun.
And that way
Yeah.
they know what your line is too.
Exactly.
You're calling through the game, so they can get a really good feel of what.
Yeah, you can keep it
What they
consistent.
can do
Yeah.
and what they
Yeah.
can't do, right?
So why do you think these, like, your respective leagues are, like, on a shortage of refs? Like, what would be the cause of that? Like, nobody wanting to be a ref anymore?
I'd honestly say it's a lot to do with the parents.
Parents,
The
yeah.
parents has got to be the number one contributor for me. Just the.
Well, the amount of helicopter.
It's just like helicopter, like the berating, just like how committed they are. You'd think they were on the ice,
Right.
To
Exactly.
like, getting all the calls right, and they do have a better view really of the game. Like they got that bird's eye view, so they can see legitimately everything. And
yeah.
so I mean, like it's just can be pretty demoralizing, especially when you get older. Like then you you look at the refs that you have when you're playing hockey. Those guys are men. And people will pick on their insecurities quite fast, just because they missed a small call during a game that their kid's playing, and it's ridiculous.
And that's kind of why, like, the younger generation isn't really moving up or taking advantage of the reffing opportunities that there are.
Yeah.
Right. Like you said, they just pick on your insecurities, right? Or like anything, could be anything, right?
Yeah, like
a little.
go down the line from like the NBA, the NHL, right? Like that's the most exposed most people are to reffing, right?
Well, look at
and they just get hammered, like with anything. You never hear what the ref did right because they're supposed to do it right.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? You only hear about what he did wrong.
Mm-hmm.
I was gonna say, look at the line, or was it the Lions game, or what was that football game?
Yeah,
Yeah,
the
it was a
Lions
Lions
game with
the
ineligible
ineligible player
yeah,
who can
player.
the lineman catching the ball.
Yeah, at the
yeah,
end of the season,
Yeah.
And like social media attacks.
Just
and,
blew up
yeah,
and-
just
Yeah, and like that game affected those guys' careers. Like now they're
not allowed to ref
They're
in
not
the
allowed to
playoffs.
ref in the playoffs. Yeah.
It's insane, isn't it? Like now that's money off the table.
yeah, and that's not
That's
even
a big bag too.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And that's not even just the head ref, like the whole
crew.
The whole crew. Yeah,
and
isn't
it was like
allowed
one guy missed a call and it
just
ruins
because of
everybody.
one. Exactly.
I mean, also look at the MLB. Like, there's been big talk about them going to an electronic
The whole AI looking.
Yeah, I'm just like
false strike.
Like what Angel Hernandez goes through every single day on the internet.
It's actually kind of valid though. He's got some rough stints
he's got
out there.
some rough calls, but like even like people like how threatening they are to his life and stuff like that.
It's egregious.
Like I mean,
especially with like Vegas and gambling now, people look like you're losing money instead of just your favorite team.
Exactly.
Like,
when you get into the pros, it's right.
Yeah,
it costs games, right? So how do you think like a transition, or how do we think a league can encourage more like youth to start learning how to become officials and start like bringing in a younger crowd of new people?
Removal of the parents.
I was going to say it starts from the parents. I think that not just recruiting youth. I think they should start trying to recruit parents to just do like classes and education on like reffing, and maybe even trying to encourage them to volunteer to ref, or trying to get them exposed to the experiences that like refs go through on
like put them in their shoes.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
I think that's the best way to get perspective and to understand why they're why sometimes you miss things.
Yeah, because it's not the pay, because they pay really well, honestly, for games.
Okay.
Yeah, like, I don't know about you guys, but like, you know, I mean, in my experience, like regardless of whether it was soccer or basketball, like it was 20 plus an hour.
Yeah,
basically.
It's pretty solid.
Yeah, like it's going to make more than if you're going to go stock shelves somewhere else. You know what I mean? Like 100%.
100%. The U18 game that I did was 60.
Exactly.
That's pretty nice.
So, yeah.
For like what, 2.5 hours of work?
Yeah, 2.5 hours.
Yeah, it's not bad. Like it's nice for the pocket, but it's definitely starting with the parents.
It's more a mental toll than it is on.
Oh my God, is it ever?
You come out of the like you come out of the ring, you come off like the court, whatever it is, right? Like whatever they said that you were thinking about, you made a bad call or that you sucked, like you're gonna think about it for 5-10 minutes when you're out of there, right?
Yeah.
It is what it is. It may not bother you like severely, but it's still in your brain.
I mean, biggest fear is always coming out of the room and getting confronted. And you're like what do you do?
Like,
what do you do?
Over. Like,
Yeah, it's
not gonna reverse my call now.
but they don't care. Like they're still angry. Yeah, it's bad. It's bad. So that's the biggest fear for sure. Just coming out and having to face like a parent, and you don't know what they're gonna do. You don't know anything.
There's been some stories where like there's been full on brawls and fights
in the parking lots. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah. Going back on like parents, is there like any crazy interactions or stories you guys have with parents or players that kind of got a little out of hand?
I got a few. Like obviously I've ref for 5 years, and you kind of run in those little stunts and those instances where parents are yelling, coaches are yelling, and you kind of just go, or like you kind of just have enough, right? You blow your whistle and just kick them out, and that's
big power move though.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And you just wait till he's gone off the bench, throw him whatever the penalty is, and get him out. That's it. Nothing crazy though, like nothing like parents jumping the boards or like coaches.
No, that's borderline. Team suspension.
No harassment or anything.
Yeah,
just verbal.
Nobody's met you out in the parking lot at your car or anything.
Yeah.
Most time when people stop saying things once they're out of the like arena or facility, like they kind of realize that once you're in public, like it's not the place to do it.
Yeah, it's like the people forget that refs are people too. You know
exactly.
what I mean?
Yeah.
It's also embarrassing too. Like if you get kicked out of a game, like that walk down the hallway, you're like,
it's like a walk of shame. Right?
Yeah. All the parents are looking at you. Like,
but yeah, the worst one I would say probably was in basketball. I had to give a coach a technical. And like then proceeded to like verbally come after me for getting the technical, and he then had to give him a second one, and he poured out his like Wilson, like the I don't even know what you call it. It's not plastic. It's like a container of basketballs.
Yeah.
That comes in like a sleeve.
Eight
or whatever.
Yeah.
And he proceeded to pour it all out on the court, and then walked away. So, well, just like being a nuisance, right? You know what I mean? Heat of the moment, everything comes together.
I would have started kicking the balls at him.
I left them on the court. I wasn't going to clean them up, right? Because it's not my problem. The players went and did it, like, and then, he shot the 2 free throws. Yeah, well, because it's got to be embarrassing, right, for a player like that. Like,
especially your coach just throwing stuff on the ice, for me, honestly, it was like when I really first started reffing, I was doing like a U8 house league game. I missed an offside, like I kind of just let it go, and I was standing on the boards, and Dad came up behind me and just started leaning into me, like everything that you can't say on the podcast, but it was not very kind. I'll say that.
Yeah,
and
that's
it was
brutal.
loud. It was loud too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's like, how do you guys deal with like the such high expectations that parents and coaches hold you up to, right? Like they feel like you should be a robot and be able to see everything, even though
Right.
you're just human, right? Like you only get 20/20 vision.
Right. Yeah.
And
I
like-
mean, yeah. I think if I mess up, I just skate over to both benches and admit it. Like, hey, I'm human. I apologize. I'll keep an eye out for next time, and that's pretty much it. Like, well, like what else can they do, right? Like at the end of the day, if you admit that you kind of messed up on a call or whatever it may be, they are kind of lenient towards kind of being more apologetic for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you hit it on the head there. And I think they do a pretty good job, like in terms of when they're like training you to be a ref. That,
Yeah.
because they know it's going to happen, obviously, right? So I think they do a pretty good job on almost like preparing you for it and telling you, like you said, like Lazo,
Yeah.
that's one of the many strategies that you can go about doing, right?
Yeah, like as
So,
long as
like,
you're honest.
At the end of the day, like you're the referee, right? You are in control of the rules of the game. So
Absolutely.
like you just got to uphold it.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of just approached it kind of like game days. Like, you just react to what you see, and if you make a mistake, you make a mistake. It's kind of just, it happens. It's already in the past. You kind of got to move forward. Yeah, and being honest with the coaches is pretty big too. They enjoy it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Usually, like before the game too, like I'll get their names, and then kind of exchange, just a
Becomes
little
more
bit of personal
personal, yeah.
contact, right? So
That's smart.
It's not just coach, right? You can call them by their name, right? And
That's smart. I think
Yeah.
that's a good idea.
Yeah. I was gonna say, is there any tricks to keeping the game from like getting out of hand, like whether it be fighting and you set the tone by like, oh, if this nonsense keeps up, like you're both gonna like toss two players who started it, and like keeping the game under control.
Yeah.
You guys might be better on that. I only
100%.
did like young kids, then nobody was really
Yeah,
that
it
mad.
really depends on the situation in the game.
Yeah.
Obviously, if it's chippy, I'll let a little bit go.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, like once it kind of crosses the line of interference or drastic penalties, then yeah, obviously then those will be getting called. But I like to kind of push the pace of the game and have a little bit of flow. Like I'm not going to be calling everything, right?
Mhm.
But yeah, no, like I said, if it's drastic, then be getting called for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I was gonna, one more thing is just, like, how do you leave, like, the nasty comments or, the nasty interactions? How do you, like, leave that on the ice? Like, for a lot of people nowadays, right, like, verbal abuse is, like, a real thing,
Right.
right? Like, the saying, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me, isn't, like, that true as it
Right.
is, right? So, like, how do you guys, like, keep that out of your head after the game, and, like, how do you, not take it too personally?
To be honest, go
Oh,
ahead.
go.
I was gonna say in
Sorry.
hockey, like it's not really tolerated anymore. Like if you swear or call someone like a derogatory term, then you're gone for multiple games. You're suspended for 2, 3, 4, and maybe even a hearing with the league.
Yeah.
So a lot of players and coaches know that, and yeah, kind of are now a little bit more lenient towards not doing that, obviously, because yeah, like
Nobody wants to get suspended.
nobody wants to go for 2, 3 weeks, right? Like
Yeah, absolutely.
just hurting your team and then also yourself as well.
For sure.
Yeah, 100%. I think that I found that in basketball as well. They've definitely cracked down on it in terms of like verbal, like the harassment, like I don't know if I'll call it. But like I think it's like maybe I'm thick-skinned, but maybe just because I played sports and I know in the heat of the moment you can say something to the ref, right? I mean, maybe you didn't think about it, maybe you didn't even mean it, right? It's not an excuse by any means, right? Like we're all in control of our own words and our own actions, but I think that by playing a sport and like understanding that when you're like running around on a field or like in an arena, that like things can happen, right? And you're
Adrenaline
competitive,
is going.
right? Like you want to win, so
Like lots of emotions, yeah. Like,
100%.
I really learned to just kind of laugh at it later.
Yeah.
Like you
Oh,
really
yeah.
develop a thing, like you said, thick skin through hockey. Like you've heard worse. So you kind of just like learn to laugh it off later. It's like, oh, that was pretty funny. He called me, X, Y, and Z. But and it was a young kid's game too. So really, you learn to laugh and kind of let it roll off your back.
Yeah.
In the game. It's not that serious at the end of the day, but it's not so bad.
And just one more thing, for when you guys go to like reffing school to like become a ref, do you think that their curriculum sets you up for success? Like, is there anything that you think that they might need to change?
I would say so. Yeah, I would say there's two. So for hockey reffing, there's two kind of parts to it. There's the on ice skating test where you go through like a bunch of like skating drills, backwards, forwards, and they kind of just show you like where the positioning is. And then there's the written test, which is like rules, regulations, and yeah. So I would say they do the best they can, and there's not really much that they can kind of teach other than maybe get prepared for, like we talked about, like the parent harassment or coach harassment.
I mean, the best teacher is really just doing it. Experience.
Exactly.
Experience really is the best teacher.
Absolutely.
For especially this kind of job.
I would agree with you for sure.
You can only know so many rules, but like it's really getting a feel for how to control a game.
How to control it, and
your decisions really matter. Excuse me. Your decisions really matter at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, you have a big impact on the game. So just getting a feel for how and when is really key.
Absolutely.
100%. Yeah, like basketball, fairly similar. You got a written test. We got to know the hand signals for different calls and stuff like that, and the explanation.
Mm-hmm.
But I think they do a pretty good job on keeping it up to date with basketball. Like obviously you have there's like the FIBA and there's NBA rules, so we got to know which team is, what games you're reffing are going to be playing in which league, what rules are they under.
Mm-hmm.
That's key in just remembering. But other than that, I think it's just basically what you guys said, right? Like it's like playing a sport. You're not going to get better at it if you don't do it, right? So,
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All set. No,
Yeah, absolutely. Alrighty. Thank you, gentlemen. I really appreciate your time and your contribution to this conversation. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much.